The sun is shining in the sky, hardly a cloud in sight, and we are going to have a fantastic race here today.
Drivers, start your engine!
Cause we want retribution. Yeah, we want retribution.
But coming to the green, you're getting cleaned out real well. Pace cars off, kick some ass.
There's the green flag and we're underway.
Green, 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 green. Outside, still there at your door. Good job, man. Nice and solid. Take care of your stuff.
Three wide.
Here, Hawkins into the wall.
Oh, big trouble!
Crash in the back. Oh, there's a crash in the back.
Trouble.
Great job, doing awesome, buddy.
And hello race fans, and welcome here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 14th race of the WRLA Pepsi Cup Series season. It is the running of the Brickyard 400, and folks, we made it to this point. It's the first time in WRLA history that the Pepsi Cup Series takes its trip to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You know, after so many years of doing this, of course, with the NRLA McDonald's Cup Series and, you know, the select years that the WRLA has run in 2017, 2020, and as well as 2023, I can proudly say that we finally have made it to this point. And this is obviously, as you can tell, the deepest that we've gone into a single season, because we've probably gotten about halfway through a WRLA Pepsi Cup Series season before full on shutting down the league and obviously declaring, I think it might have been, if I do remember correctly, it might have been Emmanuel Hartnett who was the unofficial points leader at that point, so he would have been the champion there. 2020, the unofficial champion was Daniel Voiles. 2023, man, I can't even tell you because I can't even quite remember, but I'll probably have that stat by the time we go to Darlington towards the end of the month. But here we are, we're kicking off the month of August with some racing at the Brickyard, and boy, oh boy, if you guys missed it last week on Saturday, to end off the month of July, we had a caution-free event at the Nashville Super Speedway that saw Russell Blaze, after starting in the 29th position, methodically pick his way through the field via pit stops, and after the final round of green flag pit stops, managed to find himself in the right place at the right time, managed to get a great run on Braden Perez, actually, with just a small handful of laps to go, to take the race lead and not look back from there, to finally nab his first Pepsi Cup Series win of his career. After chasing it for so many races this season, he's finally got one, and it definitely shook up the point standings a decent amount. So let's go ahead and take a look at your point standings coming into this race here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Terry Walker, after finishing 7th, still holds on to that points lead, and after his win, Russell Blaze goes from 8th to 3rd in the point standings. Stephen Colon starting to pick his way up inside of the top 10. Emily Anderson showing up in the 10th spot in the point standings as well. You got Nia Steidel starting to climb her way back up. She's now 13th in the point standings coming into this thing. Caleb Rose, again, you know, I touched on it earlier. He's starting to get on a pretty good roll towards the tail end of the points paying season. So up to 15th right now. So he's doing a pretty good job. Nathan Stapleton finding himself inside of the top 30, moving up to 29th in the point standings. Wyatt Walker still having some troubles here. Same can be said for CG Holt. Holt especially is definitely not where he wants to be at all in this juncture of the season. As we take a look at the rest of your point standings, there's Alex Bonsignor, who could have had himself a very fantastic day, and he did, but unfortunately, some poor finishes definitely told the tale of, you know, where he stands in the point standings. That didn't really make a lot of sense, but hopefully you guys can understand that it really didn't do much for him. Claire Phillips down there as well. Sebastian Vaughn assumes the 36th position in the point standings, unfortunately. And that definitely is a very tough break for Sebastian Vaughn. Of course, you know, having himself some good speed and some good momentum coming in, you know, to the later parts of the season. And it's just not quite translating to some good points paying finishes to catapult him a little bit further up the ladder in the point standings. But today should be pretty interesting. I mean, for Sebastian Vaughn, he might have his work cut out for him. Probably might be starting towards the back half of the field, maybe towards the front, but we're about to find out. We had qualifying earlier today, and as you're going to see right here, it is Joshua Cornish who starts on the pole position. Andrew Miller's going to line up alongside Emily Anderson, starting in the 3rd spot. There's Wyatt Walker, who was 24th in the standings. He's starting inside of the top 10. Right behind him in row 4, that's Terry Walker, our points leader. So, of course, Wyatt definitely has a smile on his face still, you know, seeing that his dad still has the points lead. Stephen Cologne starting 17th, as well as Claire Phillips, who's second to last in the points standings we just saw a little bit ago. Starting in the 19th position, Rogel Dorn starting in 11th. Outperforming both of his Durrani Racing teammates, which you can see here. Quentin Moore starting 25th, Russell Blaze starting in the 29th spot. Zachary Fitzwater starting mid-pack for this one in brand new colors. He's rocking the Pennzoil colors for this weekend for the first time all year. Fitzy gets a second paint scheme, so really can't wait to see that paint scheme in action here today. Nia Steidel, we touched on her a little bit ago. She's starting in the 36th spot and 13th in the points standings. Sebastian Vaughn dead last. He's starting 37th of this one. Caleb Rose 15th in points, starting in 40th. Roberto Crown Jr., who's top 10 in the point standings, he's starting in the 39th position. And then there's our provisional starters of Aaron Abel, who is towards the rear end of the points field, and Braden Perez, who is 20th on the points market. Well, sure enough, ladies and gentlemen, I honestly cannot wait for this. You know, 80 laps of action here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We finally made it to this point in WRLA Pepsi Cup Series competition. At this juncture of the season, we're finally racing at the Brickyard. 80 laps to decide it all. Who will win the first ever WRLA Brickyard 400? We're about to find that out as the drivers are strapped into their race cars. Pre-race ceremonies are just now starting to wrap up, but in order to get these 42 cars rolling on the track, we got to get the command to fire the engines. So let's go trackside and get just that.
Are you ready? Drivers, start your engine!
There it is. Engines fired, pace car is rolling off, and so are these 42 competitors. We also forgot to touch on it, but also to point out the number 23 of Valkyrie Atikian, along with Zachary Fitzwater rocking new colors. Atikian is also rocking some brand new DoorDash colors for the first time this year. Finally, after so much time, you know, these other drivers are getting some additional paint schemes, so can't wait to see this DoorDash car in action. Atikian starting a little bit deeper in the field for this one, so she's going to have her work cut out for her. And former points leader Zachary Fitzwater starting mid-pack in that 21st position. So things are going to look pretty interesting for Fitzy. And then our last week's winner, Russell Blaze, in that number 29, starting in the 29th position. If memory serves me right, he did start 29th last Saturday at Nashville, and that's the position that he started in and wound up going on to win from. So maybe lightning could strike twice for this Durrani Racing entry of Russell Blaze. as the field gets ready to work their way down the short straightaway into turn number 4. Man, it's going to be a load of history here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. WRLA's first ever trip to the Brickyard. And only after today, 7 races to go until we officially crown a champion for the 2025 season. Pace car is going to pull off, and this will put the field in the hands of Joshua Cornish and Andrew Miller. They're going to lead us down to the green flag and get the 2025 Brickyard 400 started. Green flag is out, and we're racing at Indianapolis. Fantastic start for the front 4 as Cornish pulls out with the lead. You had both of the American Motorsports cars nose to tail in 3rd and 4th, and Alexander Rowe's going to waste no time. He's going to get to the inside of Anderson and challenge for that 2nd spot as they race their way through turn number 4. This is going to allow that 89 of Cornish to pull away by at least about a quarter of a second as they race their way down the front straightaway. Cornish is going to lead a lap number 1. That's at least about a half a second that Cornish was able to put on Alexander Rowe as he now assumes the 2nd position. CG Halt, after seeing where he sits in the point standings, he's 30th in the points as of right now. So a really good run today is going to help him as he works his way towards the bottom of the racetrack into the 3rd corner to try to take that 2nd spot away. Didn't have a good enough run there. Wasn't able to capitalize, so he's going to stay right glued to the back bumper. This number 34. A little bit of contact back here that could have been catastrophic between Stephen Colon and Campbell Marsh. It looked like Marsh was trying to slam the door on Colon, and Colon was already there, so Marsh had to give room, and here comes Stephen Colon to the inside as he's going to pursue the 8th position and easily grab that. Claire Phillips, who started 19th in this race, she's already worked her way inside of the top 10. Looks like up to, I want to say that's the 9th position, 8th or 9th spot, as he trails behind Stephen Colon. And Zachary Fitzwater, we touched on him a little bit ago in this one, started in the 21st spot, working already, I would believe, to be inside of the top 10. He gained 12 spots since the drop of the green flag as of lap 3. They're coming around to complete the 3rd lap to start on lap 4. And I would believe that this number 98 has already cracked the top 10. Indeed, that is the case. 10th for Zachary Fitzwater. Battle for 8th is on as Phillips works her way to the inside of Stephen Colon, and that's going to leave Colon as the sitting duck for a little while up on that 2nd line. And we already know that that bottom line around all 4 corners at Indianapolis is the preferred way to go. You never want to find yourself up on the outside because that is pretty much no man's land, and that's where Alexander Rowe is going to find himself as CG Hull works his way to the inside, heading through turn 4. Rogel Dorn now is going to join Rowe up on the outside as Val Moscow is going to make a charge, what looks to be for the 4th position. And sometimes you do get a pretty good corner exit coming off of these corners, especially turn 4. We just saw that with Rogel Dorn. He's able to retain that 4th spot. He's going to go right on the attack on Alexander Rowe for 3rd. Rowe's going to start sliding back here in this number 34 as he's going to fall just outside of the top 5 if he's not careful, because he's got Emily Anderson down to the inside. Now Anderson trying to search for a little bit more history this year. She already got her 3rd Pepsi Cup Series win at North Wilkesboro earlier in the season, as you see CG Halt get passed here by Rogel Dorn for that 2nd spot. Rowe was challenging for the 4th position, but for Anderson, she ties Emmanuel Hartnett with 3 wins overall in the WRLA. If Emily Anderson is able to win here today, she'll not only nab her second win on the season, but she'll become the all-time winningest driver in WRLA history. That would honestly be very impressive, and especially to do this all with one sponsor, Mountain Dew. I mean, that would be pretty impressive enough. So Anderson looking for a little bit more history here today at Indianapolis. Lots of changes here inside of the top 5. Doran is now up to 2nd. Alexander Rowe is now 3rd, and Ajax Fitzgerald. Here's another driver who's essentially racing to try to find another spot here, another ride within the WRLA. In 2026, this 92 team will be shutting down, so Lightstar Racing Co. will not have a 3rd car, especially a part-time car at that. So Ajax Fitzgerald definitely racing like there's no tomorrow. He definitely had himself a really good performance at Nashville last week. And here he is again here this week. Right here in the 4th position early in the going in this Brickyard 400. And all 7 laps coming around this time by will be led by Joshua Cornish in this number 89 machine. Already has a win to his Pepsi Cup Series career. That came at Phoenix in 2020. Back when he was racing for Elijah Gordon Incorporated, but now for his own team. And caution already on the speedway. For the first time here today, looks like that might be for Aaron Abel, this number 43 machine. And Caleb Rose, oh, that's such a shame. Caleb Rose in this number 59. Little bit of right side damage to his race machine, and caution is out on the speedway. That race was easily won by the 89 of Cornish. As we saw just a second ago, there was a little bit of smoke and tire marks on the back straightaway, so there was definitely some trouble back there. But Aaron Abel in this number 43 comes into this race 3rd to last in the point standings. Definitely not the type of incident that he would want to happen, especially to him. I also saw Ryan Little back here. Caleb Rose, we just touched on a little bit ago. A little bit of right side damage to the passenger side of his Lenovo Chevy. And Rose, I mean, this would be very unfortunate because this would put a little damper on this miracle run that Caleb Rose has put on for himself. And Appalachian Motorsports as an entirety, I mean, other than the comeback, if you will, for Caleb Rose, it really wouldn't be the greatest for him whatsoever. As we see here, looks like all these other cars are going to wound up on pit road. We're going to adjust the camera just a little bit. We see all these other cars lined up on pit road. Pretty much everybody's coming on in. So as everybody works their way into their pit stalls, so to make their first official, well, their first ever pit stop of the day. See what the strategy is going to look like here. Might be 4 tires, and that seems to be the case. Rogel Dorn already on the left-hand side, and is already down and away. But Cornish is going to beat everybody off, and that's just the advantage of having the number 1 pit stall. Cornish is going to win the race off of pit road. Alexander Rowe is going to jump up to 2nd. Rogel Dorn will now be in 3rd. Ajax Fitzgerald comes out 4th. CG Hulk comes out 5th. Then Val Moscow 6th. Then 7th, Emily Anderson. 8th will be Quentin Moore. 9th, Campbell Marsh. And coming out 10th, that would be Zachary Fitzwater in this number 98. But first caution of the day is out here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Your current race leader right now is the number 89 of Joshua Cornish. Let's go back and review what happened that brought out our first yellow flag of the day here at Indy. It definitely had something to do with Aaron Abel and even Caleb Rose, Ryan Little as well. So it must have been just a 3-car jam session. And it looks like there might be a little bit more to that story. So we're going to focus on Caleb Rose from the aerial view. He's going to basically get into the corner here, and Jordan Sumner actually was slowed up there in the 3rd lane. So Sumner, I think, just pinches Rose down, and the 59 and the 20 go up the racetrack and into the outside wall, and right in front of the 43 and the 27, who both end up going for a little spin. Abel makes contact with the inside retaining wall. And Ryan Little, this is just a little spin for him, and Caleb Rose in the 59 unfortunately wound up getting the worst end of that one. Jordan Sumner also has some damage to her race machine as well, especially on the driver's side. You can see just a little bit. It kind of, yeah, right about there. You see that little crack right where the 2 is in the 20. That is where the damage is for Jordan Sumner's car. Let's have a look at this in real time. You're going to see the 59 of Caleb Rose. He's going to get to the inside of Jordan Sumner, and Sumner's just going to squeeze him down, and not enough room there. Those two cars go up the racetrack and into the wall, and they wound up collecting Ryan Little and also Aaron Abel, unfortunately. So not the way that these three, and even 4 if you want to count Jordan Sumner, not the way that they wanted to start off their days here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, start off their races. And that's just rather unfortunate for those drivers in particular, as they're going to wound up having somewhat of a minor setback, if you will, but definitely nothing that's going to hold them back for sure. So under caution, working our first yellow flag of the day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just in case for those who are tuning in, our first 7 laps were ran under green flag conditions. Our first caution didn't come out until lap number 8, where it saw Aaron Abel, Ryan Little, and as well as Caleb Rose crashing over in turn number 2, getting involved in an incident over in turn 2, where Caleb Rose got to the inside of Jordan Sumner. That was in a 3-wide situation going into turn 2. Sumner wound up squeezing Caleb Rose, just pinching him just a little bit too much, and Rose didn't, I don't believe, quite took notice of that one, and that wound up sending the 59 and the 20 straight into the outside wall. And then in the process, it collected Aaron Abel and Ryan Little as well. Sumner was able to drive away from the accident, but unfortunately, it saw Rose, Little, and Abel spinning through turn number 2. That is why we are under our first caution flag of the night here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Joshua Cornish has been leading since the drop of the green flag, and he has been the only race leader, led every single lap up to this point. Alexander Rowe came out in the 2nd position, then Rogel Dorn currently sits 3rd. Ajax Fitzgerald in the 4th position. CG Halt completes your top 5. Then it's Val Moscow in 6th. Emily Anderson in 7th. Quentin Moore 8th. Zachary Fitzwater, actually, I do stand corrected on this one. He came out of the pits in 9th, and rounding out your top 10, that would be the number 38 of Campbell Marsh. How about that for both of the American Motorsports cars currently performing inside of the top 10? Definitely team owner Trey Wright is absolutely loving what he sees, as both of his cars are towards the front end of the field and actually performing pretty well early in the going of this Brickyard 400. But there's still a lot of action to go, as we are approaching the 1/10 mark, or the 1/8 mark of this race. There may be 80 laps in this event, but there's still plenty of racing to go here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for our 14th race of the Pepsi Cup Series season, the Brickyard 400. After today, there will be 7 races left until we officially crown a champion. Our first official champion of WRLA competition for 2025. This is obviously the furthest that we've ever gotten in the WRLA Pepsi Cup Series schedule. The furthest that we've gone up to this point was about halfway through the 2017 season. I think it was a 26 race schedule, and race 13 was a second date at Rockingham. And I can't quite remember exactly who wound up winning that race. It might have been I'm not sure. I think Lisa Gonzalez wound up sweeping both Rockingham races. I know she won in the spring in the early stages of the 2017 season, but I can't quite remember who won the second race. It might have been Davey Johnson. It could have very well been Davey Johnson, who drove a number 50 Realtree car, or yeah, it might have been a Realtree car that he wound up driving back in 2017. It's been quite some time, and it's rather unfortunate that we can't go back through the archives, because the archives got deleted for some anonymous reason, some unknown reason, if I may say, because, you know, I really was not thinking in 2019 when I decided, oh, I'm going to delete some stuff. But I do remember it by heart. I remember exactly how it wound up happening. It was a small handful of laps to go. Field came off of turn number 2. Stuart Grattan got spun to the inside, and he wound up tumbling down the back straightaway, and that ended the race. And it did see Davey Johnson go to victory lane in that one, but so much more history to be made here today as we're going to focus back in. Pace car is off, and Joshua Cornish restarting in a very familiar position as we're going to have an all single file restart for this one. Green flag getting set to come back out, and we are racing again here in Indianapolis. Very good jump there for Joshua Cornish once again as he takes off with the lead, just about a third of a second over the 34 of Alexander Rowe for the moment. But Rowe is starting to get a little bit of momentum as he's going to pull up to the back bumper of the 89, but not so fast. Rogel Dorn already looking for the second position. CG Hall is going to dive to the inside as well on Ajax Fitzgerald as they race through turn 3 and heading into turn 4. This is exactly what Cornish wanted to see in his rear view mirror. Just a little bit of deja vu from the beginning of the race as he's going to pull away with this top spot. The gap here, I would have to say, yep, just about how it was when we started the race, about a half a second, as Rogel Dorn is now going to officially take over the second position. Halt moves to third. Emily Anderson is going to take over the fourth position, and Quentin Moore in this number 04 looking to try to fight for that fifth spot as they head down the back straightaway and into the third corner. Moore's going to easily win that fight heading through the turn number 3, and here comes teammate Campbell Marsh to the inside, and Wyatt Walker in this number 19 started in the 6th position, fell back just a little bit, but now trying to find himself, well, he's already found himself back inside of the top 10 here as they work their way down the front stretch and trying to wrestle, looks like that 7th spot away from the 34 of Alexander Rowe, who is found himself pretty comfortable right now, clear of all traffic. He's obviously got Wyatt Walker behind him in the 8th position as we got a change of hands here for what looks to be third, or well, now second, is Hall goes up to the 2nd spot, and Quentin Moore trying to get around his teammate for third, and is going to successfully do just that. So Quentin Moore moves up to third, and Rogel Dorn going to try to fend off Emily Anderson for the 4th position, but looks like things are getting a little bit more settled down, but still pretty racy as we're about to reach the 1/4 mark of this Brickyard 400. Anderson's going to take that spot away, so move Anderson up to the 4th position, at least officially as of right now. Let's take a look further in the back half of, deeper in the field, if I may say. There's Claire Phillips in the 5. She's currently shown in the 12th position. You also have Roberto Crown Jr., who started in the 39th position. He's already worked his way up to 14th after 15 laps of action. Well, coming to 15 laps complete, just to clarify. And whoa, a little bit of contact there, and a bit of a close call between Campbell Marsh and as well as the 5 of Claire Phillips. Sort of a similar dance to what we saw with Marsh and Stephen Colon earlier in the race, where Marsh about near slammed the door on Stephen Colon when he was already there and almost took the nose off of the 25. But Marsh now finds himself in the 11th position. Claire Phillips is going to retain that 12th spot. And here's Russell Blaze in the number 69. Remember, he started in that 29th spot, already up to the 13th position. Currently scored 14th, but because obviously because of the scoring. But Roberto Crown Jr. now starting to fall back through the field. Looks like he's lost 3 positions, fall back to the 16th spot, now 17th, maybe 18th. About almost outside of the top 20. Further up towards the front, challenge for the lead is on, and here comes CG Hall to the inside, 3 wide for the lead, as Quentin Moore is going to get a little bit gutsy here. Cornish has the lift, and here comes Quentin Moore in the 04 to take the lead. No contest there. Holt surrenders that fight, but now puts himself in a position to where Joshua Cornish is going to take back the 2nd position. And is going to set his sights on Quentin Moore on re-securing this race lead once again. Holt now starting to slide back. He's got his boss and teammate Wyatt Walker up there in that 2nd line. As he's starting to fall back just a tad bit, but it looks like CG Holt's going to get that acceleration down the front stretch and will retain that 3rd spot. Anderson still in 4th. Ajax Fitzgerald now finds himself on that outside line, and same for Wyatt Walker, Alexander Rowe, and even Campbell Marsh, but up towards the front end of the field. Let's see what Joshua Cornish does. He pulls it down to the inside as they head down the back straightaway going into turn number 3 to try to re-secure that top spot. Looks like Moore's going to back it off just a little bit to try to give that number 89 back that top position. So Cornish goes back to the point. CG Holt is there to challenge for the top spot once again, but he's also got a mirror full of Emily Anderson in that 4 car. But don't look now as well. Wayne Lopez, another EGI car in the mix. Lopez has had himself kind of a very quiet kind of season where he hasn't really made too much noise, but also hasn't caused a lot. Well, yeah, hasn't made too much noise, and also really hasn't had the worst season either, as he now sits in that 4th spot behind his teammate Emily Anderson. Claire Phillips has worked her way inside of the top 10, and she's already moved up to 7th. But Holt now in that 2nd spot, looking to try to take the lead. Possibly if he's able to make a charge, but Emily Anderson's going to try to beat him to the punch, and she just did it. So Anderson is going to move up to that 2nd spot and take it away from CG Holt, and it looks like Wayne Lopez is going to join him. Coming off of turn number 2, and Lopez is going to easily take that 3rd spot away, and CG Holt might try to find a way back around this number 1 of Wayne Lopez. Not if Rogel Dorn doesn't have anything to say. And how about this? We checked in with him a little bit ago, but now here he is again. Russell Blaze now back inside of the top 10 for the first time today. And I say back inside of the top 10 because that's where he was for a vast majority of last week's race. But for the first time today, he finds himself in a top 10 scenario. And all 3 Durrani Racing cars I just noticed are all inside of the top 10. Of course, with Rogel Dorn in 5th, then in 8th, well, then in Gordon 7th was Quentin Moore, but now he falls back to what looks like 9th. And Russell Blaze currently shown in that 8th position. Well, it looks like the front few cars have all started to check out, at least the top 10, as they're also fighting for position. Wayne Lopez getting to the inside of the 4 of Emily Anderson, and a little bit of contact between Rogel Dorn and CG Hall. A little bit of door banging there as they came off of turn 3. It looks like the top 11 cars have pretty much all gotten themselves into a single file rhythm. Now here's Nia Steidel in this number 6. Remember, she started in the 36th position, and she's already moved her way up to the 15th spot. Steidl comes into this race 13th in the point standings and trying to knock on the door to get back inside of the top 10 and trying to also secure another good run. So today could be the day where she might be able to get back inside of the top 10 in the point standings if she's able to play her cards right. Sebastian Vaughn here in this number 54. Remember, he is dead last in the point standings, so he needs a good run like this desperately. Shown in the 14th spot as of right now. Seidel has already worked her way around Andrew Miller, who was our outside pole sitter here for this event. But as for Vaughn, he finds himself in a really good spot. There's Andrew Ramsey in the 67. Lightstar Racing Co. is coming back next season, but only as a 2-car operation, as I alluded to, with Ajax Fitzgerald's team closing down at season's end. But still with a good amount of momentum going into next year, but we got a long way to go up till we get to that point. The top 11 cars have all remained pretty much just single file as of right now. However, nobody's really made any sort of attempt to try to pass one another, at least currently as of right now. You know, everybody's just currently just in this single file rhythm, at least for the moment, unless if you're Rogel Dorn or even Claire Phillips. We're going to try to break that up as Dorn gets to the inside of Wayne Lopez to take over second, and Claire Phillips is going to go to the inside of her teammate of Wayne Lopez, followed by Emily Anderson. This would be the fight for third. Oh, Anderson looking to make it 3 wide, and she does. Coming off of turn number 3. That almost got catastrophic there. If they didn't get out of that one, Lopez backs off very wisely. And Anderson, unfortunately, is not able to make that pass work. So she's going to be able to set it back up and try it again. Heading into turn number 1. So change of hands for third, as Claire Phillips is going to lose that to Anderson, and maybe even fourth to Wayne Lopez. And already finds herself back down to the inside and tucks in front of the number 1 of Wayne Lopez. There goes Phillips again, trying to retake the third position away from Emily Anderson as they head into turn number 3. And up front, Rogel Dorn and also the 89 of Joshua Cornish, nose to tail as of right now. They have checked out from the other 10 cars, at least, or the other 9 from 3rd to 11th. And they might settle this race lead amongst themselves here as they complete lap 25. Dorn trying to get his first Pepsi Cup Series win and try to get the second consecutive win for Durrani Racing. They are returning next year, of course, with Quentin Moore and Rogel Dorn returning to their respective rides. But as for Russell Blaze, he is leaving to go form his own team of Death Rider Racing. And there are possible rumors that he might be trying to look to acquire Ray Atikian as one of the second full-time drivers on the team. But those are only just rumors as of right now. But as for Durrani Racing this year, they've been on a tear. They won with Quentin Moore at Auto Club. They won last Saturday with Russell Blaze, speaking of, at Nashville. And here they are this week. Rogel Dorn having the run of his Pepsi Cup Series career, sitting in that second position, looking to try to challenge for this race lead. He stayed glued to that back bumper of the 89 of Cornish for just a few laps now, and could possibly make the run for the top spot at any given time. And he's going to take that chance right here. There goes Cornish to the inside. And this is a run for the race lead as Dorn trying to get to the inside and contact being made there. Cornish ended up getting a good run, but wasn't able to capitalize. And we already have a couple cars on pit road, and looks like green flag pit stops are just now officially getting started. Looks like Aaron Abel, Caleb Rose, quite a few others wound up going in. I saw Val Moscow peel off and come to pit road. Alex Bonsignor has already made his stop, so he's down and away. Stapleton is also in, along with Martin Nixon and Noah Clifton. And also Reagan Whitlock as well. So as the field comes back around this time, let's see exactly who are going to be the next batch of cars to come on in. We're going to take a look from our pit road cam. And it looks like that is going to be pretty much everybody here. Well, a little bit of dirt got kicked up there, as looks like all these drivers are pretty much in a huge wad towards the back half of the field. Drivers like Bruno Diacomo, even Zachary Fitzwater, just to name a few, were pretty much all in that huge blob of cars. But Alex Bonsignor, looks like he might assume the lead, but actually, no, he might not, because he's a lap down. He's currently scored as a lap down right now. But then again, I'm not 100% sure yet. Dorn actually is going to get a great pit stop. He's going to take off. And he's going to take off ahead. Wait a second. He's going to take off ahead of Cornish. And he's going to get the advantage on the access road. So we could wound up with a new race leader in Rogel Dorn. Oh, actually, we will, actually. The question is, how long is Rogel Dorn going to be able to hold on to this race lead? Val Moscow coming back around under full head of steam, as he's going to work his way around the outside of Emily Anderson. Dorn right now is currently, at this particular point, he's currently being scored 31st as of right now. But maybe this time around, he might find himself maybe third. We're just going to have to find out what scoring is going to show us here, as he's going to work his way to the inside, and that's going to put Dorn, actually, Val Moscow, in the third position. Now he's already up to second as he goes by Joshua Cornish. Whoa, wait a minute here. I think Cornish was trying to slam the door on Emily Anderson, and Anderson was already there going through turn 2. But Anderson now takes over that third spot officially. And we might have a battle for the lead on our hands, because Val Moscow, coming out of the woodworks after his pit stop, is already up in that second spot and might challenge for the lead on Rogel Dorn. Here he comes to the inside of the 86 of Dorn. Moscow trying to turn his season around after what has been, for the most part, a very abysmal year for Roberto Crown Jr. for this third car of Powerhouse Crown Racing. Of course, Roberto Crown Jr. himself got a win at Michigan. And also Eric Monaco has had himself a pretty good year, a very consistent year. Moscow trying to turn it around. He currently is holding on to the race lead, but he's getting a huge challenge from Emily Anderson in the 4, and he's not going to be able to hold off this number 4 machine. New race leader, it is Emily Anderson in the number 4 here in Indianapolis, trying to make history here today. Remember, she won at North Wilkesboro to become the second, to tie him with Emmanuel Harnett on being the all-time winningest driver in WRLA. If she wins here today, she'll not only grab that second win on the season, but also become the most all-time winningest driver in WRLA history with 4 wins. But she just got passed again by Joshua Cornish in the 89, who takes the race lead back on lap number 32. And Rogel Dorn might be trying to set up for a challenge for the race lead once again, possibly, as they come down the front straightaway. Getting set to go on back down into turn number 1. That 86 stays glued to the back bumper of Cornish's car. And he might try something maybe down the back straightaway going into turn number 3. We're just going to have to find out exactly how that's going to go down. And there he goes. Dorn to the inside, heading into turn number 3 to try to take the top spot away from Cornish. You also have Moscow and Emily Anderson. They're now going to fight it out for the 3rd position as Anderson ducks low on Moscow coming through turn number 4. We have ourselves a fantastic 4-horse fight for this race lead as Cornish is just going to barely lead that lap over Rogel Dorn as they head down into turn number 1. And Cornish is going to have to give it up going through 1 and 2. And Dorn's going to take over the race lead, and looks like Cornish is going to have to slip back to 4th. Moscow might have a run at this top spot if he's able to have a good enough, if he's able to generate a good enough run down the front stretch. He's currently sitting in that 2nd position. And again, I'm actually very impressed that Val Moscow is up here fighting for the lead here at Indianapolis, because again, he's trying to turn around what has been an abysmal season for this 33 team. So for Moscow to actually turn this into, to actually show signs of speed and actually get up here and race for the top spot here in Indianapolis, I mean, this definitely, hopefully, should show some good signs that Val Moscow might be able to go to victory lane here this year, but not if Emily Anderson has anything to say about it. She ducks low on the 33 of Moscow to fight for that 2nd spot as they head through turn 4. This is exactly what Rogel Dorn needs as he starts to pull away from these other 3 cars. And at the stripe, that looks to be about a half a second advantage. And it is. At least very close to that. Fight for 5th is on between Quentin Moore and also Claire Phillips. Moore's going to easily take over the 5th position to get inside of the top 5. And Andrew Ramsey trying to get to the inside of Claire Phillips. Going through turn number 2, unfortunately was not successful there. Might try again heading down turn 4. To highlight one of the hometown heroes here for today, and that being Nathan Stapleton here in this 97. He started on the pole last Saturday at Nashville, but unfortunately, as the race progressed and with every pit stop that he made, he kept dropping further and further and further back into the field, and unfortunately didn't get the best of finishing positions. But here he is here at Indianapolis. He started deep in the field, and he's already made his way up into the 13th position. So for Nathan Stapleton, for somebody who finally got inside of the top 30 in the point standings, just a win would be all that Stapleton is asking for. Just a win. That's it. It doesn't have to be a resurgence in the point standings. It doesn't have to be any of that. All he really is looking for this year, just to make sure he can get out, he can leave this year with something special, is a win. And what a better place to do it than here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We still got a good ways to go here in this race, but I do believe if the cards are played into his hand, Nathan Stapleton has got a shot to win the Brickyard 400 here in Indianapolis. Make his hometown fans here pretty proud. And Emily Anderson has just taken the race lead away from the 86 of Rogel Dorn. So Dorn now slides back what looks to be in a fight for 3rd between himself and Moscow, but Cornish trying to take the race lead away and back into his hands. For a good amount of this event, that is where Cornish has been in first place. Pretty much for the most part, for the better part of the day. I mean, that's where he's been for the first half of this event, and it's been pretty much a fight between these 4 drivers. heading through turn 2. Moscow's going to take over the second spot, and Emily Anderson's going to slide back into the 4th position. You also have the 5th, 6th, and 7th place cars that are starting to get ever so closer to the front 4, that being Ramsey, Phillips, and Blaze. Even if they are fighting for position, they are starting to slowly but surely bunch back up together. But I would definitely have to imagine by the time that they get to the point where they are going to get bunched back up, we would already have our second round of pit stops taking place, and that's probably what might happen within a good handful of laps from now. There's Ramsey in the 67. He's going to lose that what looks to be that 6th position from the 69 of Blaze, trying to go for his second consecutive Pepsi Cup Series win. Been hanging around inside of the top 10 for a good while after starting in 29th, and he has picked his way through the field since then. He now finds himself in the 7th position. Pretty much it's been this 4-car jam session since the restart, and also since after the first round of green flag pit stops. I mean, these 4 have pretty much been trading positions faster than they've been trading Pokemon cards, as Dorn takes over second, and they kick Val Moscow, they being Dorn and Anderson, back to the 4th position. That's exactly what Cornish needed, as he pulls away by just a little bit. And there goes the number 4 of Emily Anderson down to the inside of the 86 of Rogel Dorn. That's the fight for second. Moscow stays incredibly glued to the back bumper of the 4 of Emily Anderson, and there's also more fighting back over here. Blaze to the inside of Claire Phillips. That's to get inside of the top 5. And he's just barely going to break inside of the top 5 right there by 3/100ths of a second. See, down the back straightaway they go. Nathan Stapleton is now showing inside of the top 10 for the first time today. We are past the halfway mark in this Brickyard 400. Cornish has led a good portion of this event. He's led pretty much for the most part of this race. I mean, then other than trading the top spot between Anderson, Moscow, and Dorn, it has pretty much been these 4 cars leading the charge here at Indianapolis. And now we got ourselves a fight for 5th on our hands. That is CG Holt making his way to the inside of the 69 of Blaze. And again, this is the run that CG Holt needs. He comes into this race 30th in the points standings. He desperately needs a great run here today at Indianapolis to move himself up a little bit higher in the points standings. But if you're Russell Blaze, you're 3rd in points. You could care less about what the point situation is for CG Holt, because you're caring more about how many spots do you need to pick up, because every position is worth an extra point. Just barely at the stripe, Blaze was able to retain that 5th position over CG Holt. That was actually really close right there. See if there's any other drivers that have yet to make their way down pit road. And here's another driver that's actually having a lot of trouble here today, that being the 28 of Kyle Craven. Now finds himself in the 42nd position. He comes into this race 2nd in the point standings, and I think if he's not able to have himself a masterful pit stop to turn that luck around, that's going to open the door wide open for Russell Blaze to sneak in and take that 2nd spot in points away and move himself 1 position closer to Terry Walker and his points gap, because if we go and find Terry as of right now, here he is. Back over here with these guys, and currently he finds himself in the 32nd position in the point standings. And in front of him was a little bit of a very close call between Andrew Miller and Ajax Fitzgerald, and as well as Nia Steidel. There's a 3-wide situation that happened in front of him, and thankfully these guys were able to sort it out and take good care of their cars. So everything right now is clean and green, and here we go for pit stops. Looks like Jordan Sumner is going to come on in. I didn't quite catch who was the other car that came in. We also see Caleb Rose in. Alex Bonsignor peels off. He's going to make his trip on down to pit road. And Craven is going to stay out. That might have been Martin Nixon I caught. Moscow is in. Same for Reagan Whitlock. So as the field, as the top 3, that is, work their way off of turn number 4. Let's see who's going to be the next batch of cars to come on down pit road. And here they are. That being Claire Phillips. She's coming in. Stapleton, Parton, and as well as Andrew Ramsey is in. Wayne Lopez comes on in. Same for Noah Clifton, Skylar Taylor, Stapleton, and others. They wound up coming into the pits here on lap 47. Ryan Little is going to join them. Kyle Craven breaks off, and he's going to come to pit road. So it's only a matter of time before we see our race leaders of Cornish, Anderson, and as well as Dorn make their trip to pit road. And that is going to be the case right here. Moscow's already made his pit stop, so he stays out. Same for Reagan Whitlock. And this is pretty much the rest of the field making their trip on down to pit road here on lap 47. All these cars coming down pit road at about 55 miles an hour on the speed limit. Everybody's going to take 4 tires and fuel, but the guy that we want to keep our eyes on is Val Moscow in the 33. He's already working his way through turn 4 this time. He's gotten by everybody that already made their trip down pit road. So now the question is he going to be able to come out with the race lead? That is going to be the question right here. Across the stripe he goes, and survey says he's going to find himself in the 21st position, but he is gaining spots with every car he passes that's coming back out on the track on the access road. He's not going to quite be able to beat Cornish or Anderson out, but he is going to get ahead of the 86 of Rogel Dorn. So a lot of these drivers are a little bit more spread out than what they were after the first round of green flag pit stops, but the race leader is still going to be the 89 of Joshua Cornish. But for how much longer, though, because Emily Anderson has built such a monster run on this 89 machine, she might have something to say about this race lead heading into turn 1. And there she goes, down to the inside goes Anderson to take over the top spot here on lap 49. Cornish is going to slow up in front of the 33 of Moscow just for the moment. But they are going to rebuild their momentum once again. And how about this? Both 2 out of the 3 Durrani Racing cars find themselves together. That being Rogel Dorn and Russell Blaze. No, you're not seeing. You may be probably thinking that you're seeing double, but I promise you're not. 86 is a Murder Drones car, and the 69 is a Dead by Daylight machine. While up at the front of the field, Anderson pulls out ahead of the 33 of Moscow, who now officially takes over the second spot. Then followed by Cornish, who slips back to third. But the top 3 cars are all strung out just a little bit more than what they have been. But I don't think that's going to prove to be too much of a factor, because there's a good chance that they are going to bunch back up together. We're just going to have to find out how much longer it will take them to bunch back up together, as you see Russell Blaze and Rogel Dorn trading that 4th position. So move Blaze up to the 4th spot. And look at this crossover move right here as Rogel Dorn gets to the inside of Blaze going into turn 1 and will easily take back the 4th position from his own teammate. That is actually pretty impressive stuff right there amongst the teammates. Let's see if Blaze pulls the crossover yet again. It's not close enough to make a run on his own teammate of Dorn, but I mean, hey, he's just probably gonna let him know, hey, just in case, I'm right here. Let him know it's like, hey, that was cool, but just watch out. Not too far behind them is Quentin Moore, who finds himself in the 11th position as of right now, working on Reagan Whitlock, who currently sits in the 10th spot right now. At least currently. So Moore is going to easily get around Reagan Whitlock, so move this 04 up to 10th. So all 3 Durrani Racing cars now find themselves inside of the top 10. With less than 30 laps of racing to go here in the Brickyard 400 in Indianapolis. It's pretty shocking to me of how we've only had 1 caution throughout this entire race, and it came on lap number 8, and which only saw a 3 to 4 car jam session going into coming off of turn number 2 and heading down the backstretch. So since then, we've been clean and green and had a few close calls here and there, but other than that, we haven't really had that many incidents. I mean, we've, for the most part, have just had ourselves some pretty good racing and good strategy calls. How about Tanner Parton in this 07 machine, our winner from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park from 2023, after leading from flag to flag. For Tanner Parton, I mean, unfortunately, he has not had himself the best of sophomore seasons. It's pretty common for the sophomore slump, but for Parton performing here today for Vision Motorsports, I mean, this is another team that is going to be coming back next year and increasing to 3 cars and switching manufacturers. There's a lot going on here for Vision Motorsports. It's like an all-out rebrand of the team, if you will. But as of right now, Parton doing a fantastic job riding in the 7th position, and he could very well find himself going to victory lane and getting Vision Motorsports not only their first Pepsi Cup Series win, but for Tanner Parton himself, his 2nd Pepsi Cup Series victory, and it could come here in Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's got to pass a good handful of other cars, especially the front 3 of Anderson, Cornish, and Moscow. These 3, if you also want to count Rogel Dorn, they've pretty much been class of the field, but mostly it has been these 3 of Emily Anderson, Joshua Cornish, and Val Moscow. They have been trading the top 3 spots for a good portion of this race now, ever since the first and second rounds of pit stops took place. And they are getting ready to trade this lead spot yet again, as Cornish is absolutely glued to the back bumper of this 4 of Emily Anderson. Took a peek there, coming off of 4, wasn't able to make it work there, tries it again, coming across the start-finish line, but this time he's got it. Pulls up alongside Anderson, and Emily's going to have to lift off and obviously not challenge on the outside because that pretty much is no man's land. And new race leader, once again, Joshua Cornish goes back to the point here at Indianapolis. This time now with 25 laps to go, coming to 24 this time around. So far in this race, as far as the top 10 is concerned, your race leader now is going to be the 89 of Joshua Cornish. Remember, he started on the pole of this race, and Emily Anderson going to try to take that top spot back. Heading back into turn number 1. And Anderson easily is going to take the race lead away. So Emily Anderson now goes back to the point here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Cornish now gets kicked back to second. Val Moscow in third. Russell Blaze sitting in the 4th position, followed by Tanner Parton completing the top 5. Then it's Andrew Ramsey in 6th. Quentin Moore in 7th. Nathan Stapleton 8th. Rogel Dorn gets kicked back to 9th. And Reagan Whitlock completes your top 10, coming to complete lap 57 of 80 here at Indianapolis. There goes Cornish yet again to the inside, trying to change the lead once again back into his hands. He's going to easily take it that way. Easily. Anderson had to lift and give way up on that second groove. And she's going to lose that second spot to Val Moscow once they hit turn 3. Let's take a look further back in the field as Ramsey now finds himself inside of the top 5. Then there's Quentin Moore in the 04 machine. Rogel Dorn in the 86. Tanner Parton in the 07, now starting to slide back just a bit. Nathan Stapleton in the 97. Could very well find himself, I mean, like I said, he could still find himself having a really good run. I mean, unfortunately, just outside of the top 10 now, but still has a pretty good chance of getting back into this thing. Still with a very good shot at a possible top 10 finish, and change of hands here for the 5th position might take place right in front of us, or right in front of us, that is, as Moore is going to go to the inside of the 67 of Andrew Ramsey. Again, this is the battle for the 5th position, and looks like Moore is going to easily take that away, as Tanner Parton's going to follow in the tire tracks of the 04. So as we're approaching 20 laps of racing to go, another thing that we're also going to be pulling up to is the final round of green flag pit stops. It's going to be the money stop right here coming up very soon, and the question obviously is going to be who's going to have the upper hand when it comes to that game of chess, and who's going to roll the dice and try to make it last all the way to the finish. I mean, there's so many questions that have yet to be answered as we progress into the late stages of this Brickyard 400. Anderson drafting right up to the back bumper of the 89 is going to set up a pass heading into 1. Lead change once again. This time Emily Anderson goes back to the point. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm not 100% sure if Val Moscow has led at any given point of this race. He might have. I just probably haven't been paying attention. Crossover yet again. Cornish back down to the inside of the 4 of Emily Anderson to take this race lead back. Oh, but Cornish with a pretty good corner exit. It's a drag race down to the start-finish line, and Anderson's going to lead it from the outside, but is not going to be able to have that momentum, not going to be able to carry it through turn 1, and that's what's going to give the 89 of Cornish the race lead once again here in Indianapolis. Moscow is going to take over that second position fairly easily over the 4 of Anderson as they head back into turn number 3. And for the most part of this race, it has been all Joshua Cornish in this 89 machine. Unfortunately, he's not going to get all the credit for the 5 bonus points for leading the most laps. Those points really don't go to anybody. The only bonus points that a part-timer, the only bonus points that would go to a full-timer are obviously the 10 bonus points for winning the race. If a part-timer wins, that goes to the highest finishing full-time driver. If Cornish does win this race, those 10 bonus points would go to Emily Anderson. But Anderson right now has obviously got her hands full with Val Moscow in this 33 in tow. And actually, wait just a minute. Here we go for the final round of green flag pit stops. They're taking place on lap 63. Moscow peels off and comes in. Same goes for Reagan Whitlock. Peeling off as well. That looks to be the 20 of Jordan Sumner. So Sumner's going to come on in. Caleb Rose, Alex Bonsignor as well. So that's your first group of cars coming on down for the final round of green flag pit stops here at Indianapolis, which begins, of course, on lap 64. See what the strategy is this time around. If Cornish or Anderson are going to come in, no, they won't. They're going to stay out. Whereas Tanner Parton and as well as Nathan Stapleton, they choose to come on in. Lopez dives down to pit road at the last second. Same for Martin Nixon, Diacomo, Cologne, Clifton, Aaron Abel. All make that hard left-hand turn down to pit road. Same can be said here for, looks like this is the 27 of Ryan Little. They make that charge down into the pits. So I'd have to believe that this time by, then at this point, we would see Cornish and Anderson make that trip to pit road. Cornish stays out, but Anderson decides to come on in. Blaze comes in as well as Phillips, Moore, Dorn, Ramsey, Marsh, Taylor, Rowe, Halt, Atikian, and others make the trip down to pit road here on lap 66. But how about that, as Emily Anderson decides to pit, Joshua Cornish stays out. That is actually some strategy from Joshua Cornish. I'm not 100% sure if that's going to pay off, but we're about to find out if staying out an extra lap was going to be worth it. Cornish peels off. He's going to come on down to pit road. And there's Val Moscow in the 33. He's going to get out ahead. Well, he's going to get ahead of the 89 of Cornish and try to get by all these other cars that are just now wrapping up their pit stops and making their way back out on the racetrack. So chances are we might be looking at a brand new race leader. That is if they are able to beat Cornish out. Maybe not. Moscow wasn't able to get out ahead of Emily Anderson. But just remember this, Anderson still has to come all the way back around and beat Cornish, who is just now wrapping up his pit stop. He's down and away. Moscow, Eric Monaco, Sebastian Vaughn, as well as Valkyrie Atikian, Jerry Rose, and Roberto Crown Jr. And I think he even is. I thought Stapleton made a second pit stop for some reason, but he didn't. But can Anderson get out ahead of the 89 of Cornish? She will. And just, man, that was a close call there. Cornish almost came up in front of the 33 of Moscow, and that definitely slowed down the 89 of Cornish for a split moment, so he's going to fall back just a little bit. But new race leader, it is going to be officially the 4 of Emily Anderson. 13 laps of racing to go here in the Brickyard 400 in Indianapolis. Cornish has slipped back a good amount of ways. Unfortunately, he does not have a good enough draft to catch back up to the 33 or the 4. So for the most part, I would have to temporarily rule him out here until we get towards the end of the race if he's not able to make up ground on the 4 or the 33. The battle for 4th place is on between Reagan Whitlock and Tanner Parton. Russell Blaze is in this fight as well, as he's going to stay into the tire tracks of Tanner Parton. Meanwhile, Emily Anderson continuing to show the way with Val Moscow in tow. Dorn is going to, well, not Dorn, but Parton is going to, of course, make his way up into the 4th spot. Russell Blaze now shown in 5th, then Reagan Whitlock in the 6th position, Nathan Stapleton 7th, followed by Quentin Moore 8th, then Rogel Dorn in the 9th spot, and finishing out your top 10 as of right now, that would be the 67 of Andrew Ramsey, who is leading this charge of cars that also contains Skylar Taylor, also the 5 of Claire Phillips, even Rogel Dorn actually, who finds himself back here. So chances are we might see Skylar Taylor inside of the top 10 for the first time here today, as Taylor makes his way down to the inside for the 9th position. Taylor's going to easily make that pass work, and our Vegas winner will officially move up into 9th. But not much has really changed up here. Up here for the race lead, it is still Emily Anderson out front with Val Moscow in tow in that 2nd spot. 10 fingers up in the air here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That means 10 laps to go in this year's Brickyard 400. Anderson trying to make history, has become for the all-time winningest driver here in WRLA competition. She's currently tied with Emmanuel Hartnett, both with 3 wins. Remember, Hartnett wound up winning at Fontana and Watkins Glen in 2017, and then 6 years later wound up winning at Rockingham after passing Haley Curris with a handful of laps to go in 2023. Another driver who has made a load of history for EGI this year already has been Nia Steidel. She not only won back-to-back races at Martinsville and Nazareth earlier this season, but she also became not only the first woman in WRLA history to score back-to-back wins, but also the first WRLA driver ever to score back-to-back wins. And to do it all with EGI as well, so that would absolutely be huge. That's absolutely huge for Nia Steidel to do within a short period of time. But as for Emily Anderson, trying to make more history of her own. Of course, if she wins here today, she'll become the all-time winningest driver in WRLA history, along with grabbing her 2nd win of the season. Coming to 8 laps to go here in the Brickyard 400. And you got to give a good amount of props and the flowers where it's due for Joshua Cornish in this 89 machine. Started on the pole for this race and pretty easily led the most laps here today. But is going to come up just a little bit short if this thing goes green the rest of the way. But still a very valiant effort for the 89 of Cornish. Here's Quentin Moore making his way to the inside of Nathan Stapleton. That's the fight for the seventh spot. Stapleton currently has it, and Moore is trying to take it back. Take a look further back in the field. You also have Skylar Taylor up here as well. He's currently sitting in the 9th position. Rogel Dorn just inside of the top 10. And here's Eric Monaco, another driver that we just alluded to here for Powerhouse Crown Racing. He's been having himself a very quiet but yet very consistent season, as he currently, I do believe, is still inside of the top 10 in the point standings, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or just outside of the top 10 in the point standings. But for Monaco, here sitting in the 11th position, doing a very fantastic job as of right now, just kind of minding his own P's and Q's, if you will, just taking his time and not really worrying too much. Not really worrying too much about trying to pick up as many spots as he possibly can. Of course, to advance his position in points, he's just kind of been very chill and calm and quiet. Lots of racing going on over here in this pack that's being led by Campbell Marsh. You also have Sebastian Vaughn up here in the 16th position. This would be a pretty good run for him if he's able to pick up a good top 20 finish. But that, for if you are Sebastian Vaughn, that is, this is not good enough. You want to go out and you want to try to win a race. That way you can get yourself out of this hole. Not only that, try to move your way up the ladder in the points standings. Try to get as strong of a finish as you possibly can. But I'd say for right now, Sebastian Vaughn in the 16th position as of right now, I currently say that is a win in my book. Now trying to go for 15th on the 38 of Campbell Marsh as they head back into 1. 5 laps of racing to go here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Dorn, actually not Rogel Dorn, I keep getting them mixed up, but Eric Monaco was inside of the top 10 for a split second, but now he just got passed by the 34 of Alexander Rowe to fall back outside of the top 10. So Monaco going to try to set this pass back up as once they hit the front straightaway, unless if Andrew Ramsey has anything to say about it once they head back into turn 1, but I would highly doubt that. Focusing back up towards the front end of the field. They're also catching up to Kyle Craven, who, yes, he's going to take a very big hit in the points standings. Remember, he comes into this race runner-up in the points standings. So unfortunately, he may not. He's definitely going to fall pretty short. Obviously, he's going to fall outside of the top 5 in points. I would definitely say most likely. For Russell Blaze, this is a very good day for him, regardless of whether if he wins or not, because if you look at the gap, like the actual race gap between himself and Terry Walker, Russell Blaze right now is 6th. He's going for 5th on Reagan Whitlock, but where Terry is right now, he's 34th in the points standings. So there's a good chance that either Russell Blaze might take the points lead leaving here today. If not, he's going to get very close to that points points cushion between himself and Terry Walker. And once we head to Darlington towards the end of the month, it's just going to get a little bit more interesting. But right now, all eyes are on Emily Anderson. 2 laps of racing to go here at Indianapolis and 2 laps away from history. Right now, the gap between herself and Val Moscow is a 1/3 of a second. Cornish starting to gain just a little bit, but it is going to be too little too late for the 89 team of Cornish. We had ourselves a very fantastic race here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Impressively enough, only one caution here today, and a good handful of leaders, including this driver right here, Emily Anderson, who's going to see the white flag fall. 1 lap to go here at Indianapolis, and 1 lap away from history for Emily Anderson. Coming into this race, Emily Anderson was 10th in the point standings, and with 3 wins to her resume. She wound up winning at Texas in 2017. In 2020, she won at Richmond, and earlier this year at North Wilkesboro. Today, she will officially make history. By adding this win to her resume, she'll become the all-time winningest driver in WRLA history at 4. Checkers are in the air, and Emily Anderson will win the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis. Val Moscow is going to come home in the 2nd position. Then Joshua Cornish will finish 3rd. Russell Blaze in 4th. Tanner Parton will round out your top 5. Then in 6th will be Reagan Whitlock. Quentin Moore will come home in the 7th position. Then Nathan Stapleton will finish in 8th. 9th will be Skylar Taylor, and Rogel Dorn will round out your top 10. But the woman of the hour is Emily Anderson, adding on to the history books, now officially becoming the all-time winningest driver in WRLA history. Her 4th Pepsi Cup Series win coming here at the famed Brickyard, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. She also, on top of that, grabs her 2nd win of the season. A huge congratulations to Emily Anderson. Nobody went out of the race, and I would definitely have to say, yeah, nobody finished a lap down or more. Obviously, Kyle Craven was the driver in the most danger of going 1 lap down, but thankfully that wasn't the case. Everybody finished the race, and everybody finished on the lead lap, so it was definitely some good heads-up driving for all these drivers and for all these guys, and as well as only 1 caution throughout this entire race. So honestly, that was very impressive to say the least. But what a drive, what a race here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and what a drive for Emily Anderson, grabbing her 4th Pepsi Cup Series win and surpassing Emmanuel Hartnett as the all-time winningest driver in WRLA history. Want to thank you guys a lot for watching today's action here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If you're watching this live on Twitch, if you like this, be sure to hit the follow button so you don't miss a future stream. And if you're watching this on YouTube, keep an eye on the Discord. Once this premiere concludes for the point standings after today at Indianapolis, and I like I said, with Russell Blaze finishing in 4th and with Terry Walker finishing 35th, a very distant 35th. It's either looking like Blaze might take the points lead. If he doesn't, he's going to get very, very close to Terry Walker and his points gap on the rest of the field, that is. But with that said, ladies and gents, we are out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's action here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. One more time, congratulations to Emily Anderson on nabbing her 2nd win on the season, 4th win overall in her career. And we'll be off for a few amount of weeks, but when we come back, we'll be at the Darlington Raceway for the Southern 500. That is going to be on the 30th of August, and I do believe that's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, if I do remember correctly. So we'll be back around that time towards the end of the month. So take care, y'all. Have yourselves a great rest of your weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you all on the 30th of August at Darlington. Have a good one, y'all.